Welcome to Cultural Studies Podcast, where cultures collide and misunderstandings become lessons. We are traveling today to Mexico, following a Swiss author who observed a very interesting situation in the subsidiary in Mexico of a famous watchmaker that had actually an operation in Latin America. And so we're having here a very different work culture, of course, between Mexico and Switzerland, with, of course, in Mexico, a work culture that's going to be very familial and very indirect. And, well, if someone makes a mistake, we prefer to make it subtle communication, to say that things can be done before, and we don't really do it in front of everyone. So the case here happened when a new protagonist actually appeared in this group. We're having a finance manager from their headquarters in Switzerland who came to spend several months at the subsidiary in Mexico. The author welcomed, of course, as a fellow countryman, the manager, and understood quickly that he had a personality that was rather cold, direct, that would be in quite stark contrast to the local culture. And so during the first week, this manager noticed that not everyone was paying the 5 pesos, which is about half a dollar or half a euro, requested for a drink. You see, you had some sort of a coffee machine, and it was not everyone paying for this coffee. You see, in Mexico, the salary differences are significant between the top and the bottom of the organization. And so not everyone can pay every day to get a coffee at this price. So there was a tacit acceptation that only top executives and managers, people with a subsequent with a good salary, could actually pay for the coffee. The other staff would get it more or less as a perk. And so the following day, when the author arrived at the office, he saw a piece of paper that was actually stuck on the coffee machine, where the new finance manager had written in capital letter, "El que no paga roba, el que roba se va." So, he who does not pay steals, and he who steals leaves. A lot of colleagues, Mexican colleagues, were shocked by this very direct gesture, which targeted the lowest paid employees in the company. It was a gesture that was incomprehensible in Mexico, where people always help each other, and especially those who've got less, right? So a direct and unsubtle communication like that could have been accepted in Switzerland, but in Mexico it created really a shock across all the subsidiary. Of course, here we observe that the newly arrived manager totally transposed his way of observing a situation from his own culture. So this is what we call ethnocentrism. But unfortunately, that created a bad impression for the rest of employees. And during his entire stay, it followed him. So what can we say about this case, which was written by Renaud, who very kindly shared the story with me? There are several interesting elements that can be analyzed here. So we see here a clear opposition between the values of the protagonist, right? But it has several layers, right? So obviously, Mexicans and Swiss have a different relationship towards the acceptance of adapting the rules, all right? And you don't need to be a specialist of cross-cultural management to know that. So the dimension that we call particularism versus universalism is going to be at the center of this case. So in a nutshell, this dimension is not just how much people follow the rules. It's more like how people react when they ask for an exception. In that case, not pay for a coffee, all right? And so we're having the Swiss participant who's very universalistic. And so for him, there is no reason everybody should actually pay for a coffee. And we've got the Mexican context that commands that, well, we adapt the rules to, for instance, the level of hierarchy in the organization. But so that's clear. But we could add also a sense of opposition between headquarters and subsidiaries. You see, all around the world, headquarters tend to be more universalistic, right? They usually claim that they get a better strategy, that they know the market better, and so they tend to clash with their local subsidiaries who will argue that we need to adapt to the local market, that we need to understand the local specificities. So this is one thing. But there is also here some kind of a social distance, all right? It's not just anyone who's asking to pay everyone to pay for the coffee, but there is a top manager who comes from the headquarters, all right? I mean, we're talking Swiss watchmaking company. I mean, everyone understands that this top manager is definitely very well off, right? And so having such high paycheck, telling the lowest paid employees that they need to pay, once again, in an environment like Mexico, is a no-go. And finally, very importantly, in my opinion, we need to pay attention that we're not just talking about any top manager, but financial manager. And in cultural differences, we have, of course, national differences, national cultures, something we call sometimes passport cultures. We're having sectorial differences, all right? We're having corporate cultures, but we very often undermine the influence of department cultures. And here, we're not having a manager who comes from sales or marketing or HR who might have been a little bit more lenient towards this situation. Typically, finance department together with maybe legal department, we got like that a number of typical departments that will be very universalistic and typically rejects the flexibility of rules that are understood as, well, unfair, bordering with being actually illegal. Finally, we can't avoid, of course, the communication style. We're having here a manager who's communicating in a direct manner. Probably his objective was to be clear, so there is no misunderstanding, no ambiguity. But in front of a group of people that are more used to indirect communication, this directness proved brutal, too brutal. And so if we combine the sense of hierarchy together with the directness of communication, this kind of increases the gap that in the misunderstanding of this case, right? Printing a piece of paper in capital letter with words can be actually very brutal. Maybe the solution would have been to, first of all, take your time, all right? In cross-cultural management, we often advise to take it easy, to observe the context, see what's going on, ask maybe some fellow expats what's going on here, and you would be explained quickly that there are those sort of cultural rituals here where we tolerate certain adaptation to the situation, right? So in conclusion, we can really point out this ethnocentrism of the Swiss manager who just arrived and expected that the entire world would behave the same way that he's used to. But well, I've got news for everyone. What you consider normal is in reality what you like to do yourself, right? And when you travel to a different place with a different culture, others also consider their behavior normal, and we need time to discuss and reconcile those differences if we want to communicate and work correctly. In conclusion, we could say that for the price of a coffee, probably communication suffered a lot, and it's quite of a pity because things could have been quite different. Well, that'd be all for today. I hope this case interested you and its analysis. See you next time. And again, if you think you are normal, don't worry. Others probably think that you don't. This episode is just one drop in an ocean of cross-cultural studies. If you're curious for more, my book, 199 Cross-Cultural Case Studies, offers 198 more cases. Each story is a window into how culture shapes our interactions, often in unexpected ways. Whether you're a student, a professional, or simply curious, those stories will challenge your assumptions and sharpen your global perspective. Check it out! And let's keep the conversation going.